Jones gets it to Corey Kiner, charges straight up the middle, and runs into the end zone, standing up, giving him 100 yards and giving the Bearcats a 16-7 lead. Newman has the ball, takes a pass toward the corner, does it again, passes to Bandego. Aziz outside the arc. Now Lukosius curls off a screen, shoots a three, makes it. He made it. 3 seconds to go. The Bearcats up by 1. San Francisco launches from center court. No good. Simas Lukosius.
His 5th plate appearance tonight. He swings and hits it high and deep to left field. Goodbye, home run. Carrington Cross. A 3-run shot. And it's now 7-3 Cincinnati.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GoBeercats podcast, part of the Catskeller Social Club and the Bearcats representative to the College Huddle community. I'm Brandon. He's Darin. What up, good sir?
Nothing. Just watched the USA take gold in men's 100 meter. Noah Lyles, the America's favorite trash talker, I guess, is won it. I won't say convincingly, but did what he does best. Someone in another Discord said the perfect heel champion. I was like, that adds it up perfectly. So
I get it. We still have the Bearcats over there in Paris doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the volleyball team has made it to the semifinals, I believe, as of earlier this morning. And then we have someone in the hammer throw as well.
Yeah. I believe that is I just had the notes on that. But Annette, I think, is in the hammer throw, right?
That is it.
Yeah.
Yes. So awesome to see Bearcats still competing in the World Games there for sure. As I say that, I see the Noah Lyles highlights here popping up. While they're running 100 meters at world records, I just cracked a Cincy late. So that's what I'll be drinking here today, talking about finely tuned athletic machines. What do you have anything new?
Finish off the tailgate, strawberry lemonade Shandy. My parents are coming down to visit this upcoming Friday, so I'll hope that my father can probably bring me some Cincy Light.
There you go.
Just to shore it up, and then we'll probably check out this brewery itself, when they come down, and hopefully I can grab some more stuff from there and have a little bit more variety in the fridge.
Absolutely. Hell yeah. Good stuff. Nothing too crazy there with the beers today. Well, is exciting other than, Bearcats competing in the Olympics and drinking nice beers here. We have Camp Higher Ground officially starting today. I believe they trucked out there on Saturday as we record this on Sunday. We've not gotten a lot of social media clips from there yet, at least from what I've seen, but the team is out there. It's Darin, it's 91 degrees here in Cincinnati right now. I think it's going to be about that all week. I would assume that temperatures are going to be about the same out that way. So they're in for a heck of a week. They're in the 7th circle of hell, at least weather-wise.
Yeah, hey, this coaching staff put an emphasis this year on putting them through artificial adversity. And nothing better than just having those classic hot, 2-a-days practices out there. So yeah, obviously you want everybody to stay safe, stay hydrated. But hopefully they're going to be better for it this year. So
absolutely,
for champions are hopefully
definitely stay hydrated. Those ice baths hit different today or this week for sure. What do you think? I thought kind of prematurely here, they've already dropped the week 1 uniform combos. Of course, white helmets get people feeling some type of way. What do you think about the week 1 uniform?
The juju's gone on that. Luke Fickell already defeated the white helmets, so I think the curse is lifted on that front.
Somebody should tell some people online there.
Well, every helmet is a bad helmet, if you go through a season like last year. So
right.
Didn't we lose to Miami in the black helmets? Or was it red? I can't remember. I put a lot of that game out of mind. They weren't white helmets, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
I'm still getting used to like the Nike signs on our uniforms and stuff.
Yeah.
Facebook reminded me. I think I put it in the Discord or on Twitter or somewhere. Almost 9 years ago, the Under Armour uniforms debuted.
2015. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are clean. It makes sense if you are kicking off in August, especially here in Cincinnati or most places around the country. You want that crisp, clean, cool white look. So I like it for week 1 and August 31st. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the part of the Under Armour was Tommy Tuberville. Obviously, just having connections and pull and desire to work with them. But one of the smartest things I ever think he did was starting off the era against Purdue in a whiteout because it was not a cool day. Quite the opposite. I think that with a late August game, I think that is a smart move. So
yeah, I remember that game. I was there with my dad. Remember that well. It was hotter than hell for sure. We had weird seats that day, I remember, and people headed out because it was so hot, and we moved down. Talked to some lovely Purdue fans. I don't mean that sarcastically. They were not big on their quarterback at the time, and I do believe we won that game.
Yes,
almost positive.
It was a blowout.
Yeah, it was very nice. Our goal here today, I guess the purpose of our show here is to the teams at camp. We know we've had a lot of turnover on the football team. So what we're going to do, we're going to break it down as like a two-parter, really. The first week here, tonight, we're going to take a deep dive into the defense, whether it's returning players. There's not many of them. Talk about the new defensive coordinator. I probably want to do that first, honestly. And then we can talk about the long list of new faces here that have come from every corner of the earth. So I want to get into all of that, Darin. Maybe even before the coordinator here, I said I had some graphics here queued up for us. So let me give you the first one here as we kind of sort of rewind the clock here and talk about last year. Before I do that, let me ask you this, Darin. If you as your memory serves you, who would you say had the better year last year, the offense or the defense?
Offense.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Why? That's kind of surprising. In my mind, the defense had a better year. But I'm anxious that we didn't talk about this. You literally just blew my mind. So tell me, why the offense win the year for you?
Offense can move the ball at least. I mean, they didn't finish, but they can move the ball. Defense got the ball moved against them. So, I mean,
that's the right way to look at it.
The breakdowns, you can do a lot of small things right. I mean, you're supposed to do all the small things right? But too many splash plays just against us last year in the defense. We want to do something creative, having a star position, 5 DBs. We're supposed to get after it and create havoc in the backfield and create coverage sacks and coverage interceptions. Frontline interceptions. But it really did not work out that way. So we kind of got blown out a few times.
Yeah, and I mean you're right because the numbers support you in your conclusion. As we pull up last year's numbers here, things did not go well on defense. Whether it was rushing defense, I don't know. I don't understand how our passing defense was 4th in the Big 12.
Yeah,
I've questioned myself on that multiple times because it seemed to be god awful, allowing 225 yards a game, almost call it 226. But at some point, if you're getting blown out, teams just run the ball to waste.
But also if you're running the ball well, why go through there anyway?
Right.
So.
I mean, I think that's probably honestly what happened. Just you get a couple touchdown lead, you don't need to air it out every play anymore, whether you're successful running it or passing it. So I was kind of surprised also to see like the rushing defense being that much worse than the passing defense because it seemed like we didn't have any passing defense last year.
Well, think about the quarterbacks we faced last year too. A lot. I mean, Pitt wasn't particularly good.
Yeah.
We got gashed up against Miami for long chunk plays.
Yeah.
A lot of other quarterbacks were second, third string options, so it was a lot more scrambling and just kind of break and contain and things like that. And then West Virginia specifically just put a rushing clinic on against us anyway. So
yeah, they did.
Yeah, that doesn't not surprise me. What those numbers are.
So. That's tough. With that, there's, I don't know. Almost at the bottom 3 in every category except passing defense, and I don't know why. That just blows my mind that we were somehow 4th. I don't even know. I'm sitting here like second guessing myself. Like, did I type in the wrong number or something here? Like, how is that one so much higher than the rest? But damn. So you're at the bottom of the Big 12 in at least 3 of the 4 major categories here. There's a couple other ones here that I obviously didn't have room here for. But stuff like our opponent red zone scoring percentage. Okay, so this was the Achilles heel for the Bearcats offense last year, right? I don't know what our percentage was, but it couldn't have been. If it was over 20% or 25%, I would be dumbfounded. What do you think opponents' percentage was against us?
Surprisingly low. No, the opposite. Yes. Okay. In that case, we're going that direction. We're probably sitting at like 112, or 90 something, in there. So
they had a success rate of 86% against us.
Oh, you're talking, okay, yeah, percentage. Okay, ranking wise. Okay, yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah.
So, ranking wise, that was in the country that was good for 89th.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I see where you were going with that, though. Another stat I thought was interesting: opponent yards per play against our defense, 6.6, which is good for number 129. When you're getting a first down every 2 plays, that's going to be a long day for the defense. And then the other one that I thought was interesting here, Darin, opponents' points per play, which I don't think you see that a whole lot in football because you have so many plays. It seems like, unless it just seems like there's way more. Yeah, I've seen this much more in like the NBA and college basketball, but not in college football. So opponents averaged a half a point every play.
That goes back to the splash plays I was talking about.
Yeah, absolutely brutal there. So there's obviously some work to do here with these numbers, and so I guess the first thing that I think we should probably talk about is how the new defensive coordinator is going to change things up. If you look at our 4 returning defensive players, and there's more than one reason to this, but all 4 of those players had lower numbers last year than the previous year. So we took a jump up in competition. Maybe that has something to do with it, right? But that's also a new league, new competition, and a new defensive coordinator, a new scheme that they certainly weren't used to, we can say, I think. So what do we think of the new guy coming in from Iowa State, Tyson Veit? This is how I think you pronounce his name. He was the linebackers coach there. I think I've misspoke on the show before and called him their DC, but he wasn't their DC. He's their linebackers coach and associate head coach. So still, he was up there. What do you look for him to bring to the team this year?
Well, he's bringing a new system altogether. They got rid of Brown last year. We're moving to a 3-3-5, I believe. So we're still keeping that star safety position. I think that's something that Satterfield specifically seems to be in love with. So that's not going anywhere. So basically, still trying to make sure we have coverage on the back end, and then look for essentially the edges of your that internal box defense to make the plays. So your outside linebackers and edge rushers to be a little bit more mobile, while your nose tackle and middle linebacker are going to make it the spine. So all things considered, if the Don can get healthy in time for that, you have him and Jack Dingle kind of working that spine, like I said, communication all the way back down the line. That's going. Oh, good.
No, finish your thought, please.
I was just going to say it's going to be a learning experience because you would wonder, and this was asked at the presser, if it was preferred to have new players along with a new coordinator, but Coach Tyson said the opposite, and likes continuity and guys who've been there experience. So we're turning over a lot of guys. There's a lot of new faces on that defense. So it's going to be a learning experiment of everybody. But hopefully that 3-3-5 is going to help us in the long run. Not get gashed up.
If I'm not mistaken, that's what we ran when Freeman was here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that defense. I mean, if you watch the Alabama game, we certainly got ran all over during that time. I know Freeman wasn't here for that, but still, it's not like the scheme can fix everything.
No.
Right? You have to have dudes that can go out there and make plays. In the 4 returning players that I mentioned, I am counting Dante in that.
Yeah.
I think with the progress that we've seen him make, I think we'll see him on the field this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's week 1 or week 2, but just from the progress that he's been able to make in such a short amount of time, I would say that we'll get to see him on the field sooner than later. Just a prediction. I don't know. Haven't heard anything either way, but definitely good to see him out there on the field in a yellow jersey, even with that on, getting after. They said that he was doing 90% of the drills or something like that. So he's making progress. I'm counting him in there. So he's definitely one of those dudes that can get out there and make a play.
Yeah, no, they said his mental state's good. They said he's working well with the doctors. So that is a good sign for that. But I mean, in this case, the big question was who's the next guy up? And so for a lot of these positions, nothing is safe for anybody, with the exception of probably Jack Dingle and Eric Phillips. We have a very extended DB room. Here we go. We got our defensive returners. Eric Phillips, Dante Corleone, Jordan Young, and Jack Dingle. Jordan Young was sort of the one who really kind of seemed like he was starting to put things together and became the de facto, field side corner. The question is, can he keep improving and hold on to that position coming out of camp? And who's to say? Because we've loaded up at that position. I mean, as far as new guys coming in, we got Derek Canteen, Jordan Robinson, and Omani Arnold. Huh?
I got you here.
Yeah.
Quite the extensive list of newcomers.
Yeah, definitely.
I think so. I think. Well, I mean, like I said, we have guys coming in from all walks of life here. The power schools, West Virginia, Wisconsin. A couple Louisville guys on here, Ohio State. They're well documented. What I'm kind of interested in seeing, we got some like smaller schools in here, group of 5 schools. I mean, you got schools like Southeast Missouri State, with Harris Adams coming up here, North Texas, another one, Idaho. There's, I think, a dude on the offensive side, receiver maybe coming from Maine. So how do you feel about the guys coming in from smaller schools? You think that's more of a high risk, high reward type of thing, not knowing if they can handle the power competition?
No, because I mean that's not the nature of the transfer portal at this point. Where, or so I should say, the nature's changed with the transfer portal. And we used to think back about how excited we used to get when we're like, oh, we got someone from a bigger P5 SEC school coming down, and our coach can fix them.
Right?
He's got the raw talent clearly, and that wasn't always the case. It's a little bit more musical chairs now, where a lot of guys just like, okay, yeah, me, I was a contributor on this team, and I'm looking. It's more about a fresh start instead, to get yourself in a better situation. In the case of some of these guys from small schools, these are guys who put up better numbers than their competition that they were facing, or they were above their competition essentially. A lot of times when you see some of these guys come from smaller schools, so you look for like the next big, player out there. I know what last year we lost out on a guy who was like one of the top linemen coming out of the FCS, and like he ended up being flipped to a bigger school from us. Yeah. So it's the diamonds in the rough who have now already been uncovered by other schools, and you can take them and make them contributors for your school. You never know who's going to be the home run, obviously. But I don't think that's what we're looking for. We're looking for contributors and to make a complete team, and guys who are going to be better than starting a bunch of freshmen in certain positions. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, there's a couple things there. I mean, you talk about hitting a home run. Like, if I think like out of any of the guys on this list, one of the guys that I'm going to be looking out for just because of his exposure at the Big 12 media days, and every time Satterfield opens up his mouth, he seems to be talking about Derek Canteen.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, like Virginia Tech transfer, like I'm kind of looking for him to be, I mean, not only a starter, obviously, but like being like a big time difference maker here on a defense or in a secondary, especially that was like Swiss cheese last year. So, that's anyone else from this list kind of like, do you have like big expectations like that?
I think Mecca Coleman had big expectations, but he's now out for the season. So,
right,
you kind of cross that off the list there. It's funny to take one from Thick and Darin Varner from D-line. And we'll get more into it. But if you remember seeing, like I said, everything's open. In terms of D-line and linebacker, really D-line, they're looking for guys who can rotate at this point. So it's also about accumulating talent in general, just having bodies ready to go that there isn't too much fall off. You're trying to make a better average across the board.
We've heard the coaching staff talk about depth, like at extensive lengths this offseason. Like, I mean, talking about players like just being gassed and dead by the end of the season, just not, being a shell of themselves because they've, played so many snaps. And that was like one thing that I remember talking about going into last season is everyone, like all the fans from around the Big 12, or like West Virginia fans, I remember talking to specifically, and they're like, you got to have the depth. Like we didn't have that year one going into the Big 12. And that's just something that gets overlooked when you talk about expectations moving into a league. So like that definitely was one of our big problems. And it looks like, I mean, if you look experience, we talked about how old this team is. They went out and got guys with experience, and what you're talking about there, guys that they can run in and out, whether it's, whether you look at them like ones and twos or whatever, it's guys that have played before at least and has some experience that can get you some snaps when people are, gassed.
Yeah. I mean, in general, that's the thing you need is depth, just because for Cincinnati, it was Fick built a lot of top end, like he developed a lot of top end guys at the top of his roster, and like they were just special in that regard. He developed a bunch of dudes who were better than competition we were in a lot of times. And then they were on par of just being P5 players at that point. That goes without saying, though, that you need, some depth, because these teams just have it. They can recruit more raw talent. They can develop, those guys easier because of their raw talent. But also with the nature of the way the game has changed in general. Like I said, depth for competition and to line up top of your competition. But then also you run multiple defensive linemen out there. You sometimes run multiple offensive linemen out there. It's looking more and more like what the NFL was a few years ago, and is in that regard, where you have guys who rotate in and out to know their assignment and play. And I want to speak on this a little bit more later, but I think that's kind of where Sat is at an advantage. Being the CEO type, I think people hear that and they think back to Tommy Tarville and they freak out. The way that college ball is changing fits into that perfectly. I like the way he's approaching the season. I like what he's trying to build with that, because it sounds like he understands the way the game is evolving at this level. So yeah, like again, it's not only depth because the competition's stepping up, but it's depth because that's what is required in general. So.
Okay. I mean, if it leads to being better on defense and winning more games, I'm all for it. Whatever we have to do. One guy I did want to bring up here at the bottom of the list, if you're watching on YouTube here and you can see the graphic, safety Mekhi Miller. Now that says New Mexico State is where he's coming from. However, he did spend some time at our JV squad out in Oxford, and could be, I hope, he's the next Ivan Pace.
Yeah.
Right. The Miami guy that comes to Cincinnati, and then just changes the defense completely and ends up being completely under the radar because he's quote unquote undersized in the NFL, and then just making a mess of NFL offenses. So maybe a little, hopefully a little Ivan Pace magic there coming for Miller. Keep your eye on him, even though that says Mexico State. I don't know if he was at Miami for 1 or 2 seasons and then went to Mexico State for 1, or if it's reversed. But I know that he was there and played and had a heck of a year at New Mexico State. So that's why he's, probably trying to get back up climb the competition ladder, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Ivan Pace himself was just kind of a freak, honestly.
Absolutely.
It's hard that allowed him to outwork his size. So, yeah. I think, we talked about D-line a little bit. Linebacker is the next thing up I want to kind of look at. You mentioned people being a shell of themselves. Jack Dingle took a lot of snaps, was banged up, was pretty much injured actually at the end of the season. He was out there for necessity more than anything.
Right.
When realistically you want him to get some rest, but you couldn't take him out. Jake Goldie has worked his way into the mouths of the coaches. That's the name I've been hearing, at least in the pressers and around other podcasts and pundits, that he's looking like the guy that might slot in at that point. They're going to be looking at rotating linebackers as well, so I don't know if that means he's going to be starting because of his talent, or at least he looks good enough to be that middle linebacker replacement where Jack is holding the spot. Yeah.
Do you have any expectations for our quarterback turn linebacker this season? Brady Drogish.
Kind of cooled down name wise, at least from the recent news I've been hearing. That doesn't mean, it's cold. It was just kind of I think people were just eager to ask about him when he made the switch, so maybe he got a little bit more play at that point. We'll see. He's athletically, he can do it. Just depends on how easily he grasps the defense. I think at this point it's an advantage for him that there's a new defensive coordinator, and they're all kind of learning it at the same, at the same time. But you also have to have that veteran mind to be able to absorb the information and turn that into plays in practice. So he also has to obviously be keeping up speed wise with someone who may start over him. So no real expectations. More, to be pleasantly surprised is what you hope. Kind who knows? Maybe he transfers if things don't work out. So he's got the build for it. So I'm not mad at it. The air you kind of got about that was he's too good of an athlete to keep off the field. So they're trying him at linebacker. It was mentioned that they're still kind of searching for, the competition's open, but what I heard him mention specifically was the field strong safety position, star position, and then really all three linebacker positions as a whole, what that's going to look like.
Okay. Just for what position?
Those are the three he mentioned in general. Well, middle linebacker is going to be Daigle.
Okay.
I think he's pretty much holding that down. But I think he wants to look what that main core is going to look like. And then he's looking specifically for the star safety, that star position, who's going to take. Because obviously Sean Pace stepped out of that. He was kind of put that perfect for that. Your linebacker, playmaking safety hybrid. You can drop back in coverage. You can, creep down into the box.
Now, do you so like don't tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't Antoine Peak Jr. He was a preferred walk-on last year, but he saw some time on the field. I thought was he at the star position? I'm almost positive that he was.
I think he rotated at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't on the graphic because he's considered a walk-on, but I don't know if he's good enough to start. I would probably honestly guess the Mekhi Miller from New Mexico State would probably fit his build and talents a little bit to run that star position.
What's he measured at? I know we don't want to go purely off of size, but does he fit that build where he's kind of that hybrid
5'10", 5'11", 200 pounds?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. That's Derek Canteen. I clicked the wrong guy. I apologize. Miller is
6'1",
200.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. They basically buffed up that safety room. You've got a whole mess of safeties. You got Trevon Gola-Carler, Mekhi Miller, as we mentioned, Antoine Peak Jr., as we mentioned. Freshman, you got Drew Robinson, Marcavius Sabor. I think Marcavius has actually impressed. I think I heard his name mentioned for a moment there. I'll have to go back and look, but I think his name was mentioned. Jaquan Sanks, Kai Stokes transferred in from Ohio State. He's just a sophomore. TJ Taylor, and then Ken Willis is here as well. That room, huge, a lot of bodies. And then you just have some general DBs as well, along with specific cornerbacks. So as a room in general, I don't know how they break up their film sessions, but if you're looking like purely just defensive backs all the way through, that's probably our biggest room, just numbers wise on the defensive side of the ball. Because the results just did not work out, especially if you're playing five at the back. You're going to need bodies. In this case, you're going to need people who know what they're doing as well. What was it, 43 or what? 40 new guys, 41, 43 new guys on this team
Something
this
like
year.
That, yeah.
So, and a lot of those on the defensive side of the ball. So it's going to be interesting. We're really going to have to wait and see what that develops in as we start getting reports out of camp in the next week and a half. I'd probably really wait till maybe next Monday to really kind of see how things are going, and see what they're feeling, because it's the drawing board for a lot of this. Another thing that was mentioned is that they're mixing a lot of the. It's not just ones and twos. People are all sorts of just lined up to really get that experience, which I'm not mad at that. It might be, it might spark something out of guys. You may not necessarily get that chance. to see how I perform with other people, because these guys are all going to have to play with each other. Because as he mentioned, one of the things is depth, and rotation. So you better know what you're doing. In this case, where next guy up isn't, number 2 on the roster, it's number 3.
Yeah.
Number 4. So it's going to be really interesting to see what combination they come out with. There's a lot of names in that hat, specifically in that backfield. I'm excited for it, though. I really am. I think a lot of people see Key Stokes and they see Ohio State and they go, ooh, ah. But I think he kind of hit the nail on the head with Micah Miller kind of getting a lot of that hype and being the next big star from a less talented school. So
yeah, I did speak earlier. He spent 3 years at Miami. So yeah,
he's got the dark side.
Yeah, welcome over, good sir. So where do you want to go next with this? Where someone specific, another position group? What do you think?
Let's hammer down to the D line here. I think we kind of talked at linebacker a little bit already in depth, and we might bounce back to quarterback specifically after that.
Okay.
Yeah, but Dante Cogliano, Eric Phillips, those are your guys. Those are your holdovers, really, too. From the Fickle era. A lot of new faces coming to the defensive line as well. You got some freshmen too that have some raw talent. Maybe it was Marquez Parker who was mentioned at the end. There was a freshman that they liked that might slot into that end spot because Mike Coleman's now out.
I have heard his name. I think it was more of a thing of like, can he be ready?
Yeah,
like they're high on him. But...
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is Marquez Parker. At end. So they have him as just like a general D lineman on the roster now. But he mentioned Phillips, he mentioned Varner, and he mentioned Rob Jasko. Or Jackson, I said Jackson. Typo there. That you're looking at there. Jackson's been on the team. He's been since 2021. So he got some rotation back then in 21 when we're moving guys around and we're blowing people out. He's a junior now. And so he's putting his hat in the ring for that I'd say opposite end position for where Coleman was. But again, rotation, depth. These are all names you'll probably see at some point, despite who starts week 1 against Townsend. I'd be interested. Honestly, I'd be interested to see what I'm talking about. Harping on Rob Jackson, but I'd be interested to see what something like that does this time around. Who's someone who's been through 2 coaching changes, who stayed, who has tried to transform their body a bit. Varner seems like more of the favorite as a senior. He was kind of one of the first names to kind of pop up as Coach Sat was rattling guys off. Had experience at Temple, didn't do too well at Wisconsin, but he was pretty much a stud at Temple. He got early playing time. He was in on 22 total tackles at Temple the first year, and then 34, 35 at that point. He's had 7.5 sacks at Temple.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
I imagine he's the favorite right now to play opposite of Eric Phillips. But that's the thing about this team, isn't it? That you're not going to create a situation this year, at least for the first 2 or 3 guys. It's like, man, I didn't get any playing time.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. Because these guys are all going to see the field in some capacity, I think, barring injuries.
Yeah, you just got to be ready to go when your number's called, because like it's almost guaranteed to be called. So be ready.
Yeah, I mean it makes me excited that that's what he decided to do and fix. I mean, obviously the nature of college football now, with people just transferring out, is going to create some higher turnover.
Mm-hmm.
But to also have that conversation with a lot of people and like, look, you're not in our plans for the future. And that goes into back into the CEO coach thing, to sit down and have those conversations and plan out and like that, like you're not in these plans, going forward, and then to bring and recruit a bunch of guys in, really sort of like not even the transfer portal, but free agency. So, it's really from a narrative standpoint, top to bottom, it's going to be exciting to see who comes out of this fray as well. It's just a little bit more locked in because your interior and your edge is already kind of spoken for on one side of the ball. So you're looking at, the other side.
Yeah.
And someone's going to move in from what would have been third to second, and someone's going to move in to first from second. So, yeah, I mean, my money is probably still in Varner as well, honestly. So, I wouldn't say I wouldn't be surprised, but again, it's all wide open. Seeing him try to prove himself, though.
Do you have his numbers up from Wisconsin last year? Like, just to like throw.
Yeah, yes. I mean, they weren't great. I don't know if
he
was injured last year or what happened with that. But he only had about 8 tackles.
Okay.
That he was in on. 2 solo, 3 assists. Yeah, so 5 tackles. So 2 solos, 3 assists. I don't know if he was injured last year. Yeah. He got ligament tear on the way out from Temple against Houston, but they were looking for him to have big numbers. So, and he entered a transfer portal. He did have a foot injury against Temple that was nagging. I don't think he. Yeah, I mean, they rotate. That goes back. See, that's what other big teams are doing. He was in the rotation at Wisconsin, but he just didn't see a lot of snaps. So he was one of those guys that they would call on and would see some plays during the game, but just didn't become that dude. So
I mean, he looks like a giant human being. Like,
yeah, those shoulders and that neck. I mean,
or something. Good God.
Yeah. I also wouldn't be surprised at that build if they end up slotting him in as the next guy up under Don. But hey, who's to really say? I mean, that was the other thing that was mentioned, that they are trying they tried a lot of these guys at other positions.
Yeah.
Throughout the spring or the spring camp. So they're truly really seeing what they have and where. Obviously you say that every year, we're trying to see what we have, but this, I think it is truly itself a rebuild. So you can't build nothing from nothing. And last year was nothing. So they're kind of back at nothing again.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting. Like, that's definitely something I'm going to be looking out for throughout camp. Like, exactly where the depth chart finishes and where certain guys lie on that, and that way we get a better idea of what expectations to have going into the season, and like where to look for production. Because I think our top, I mean, I know Pace was I think our leading tackler last year. threats might have been second or third. Like there's a ton of production to be had this season because the top production from last year is gone.
Yeah.
And like when you're returning only 4 starters, that's more than likely probably going to be the case. So there's a lot of need for every position to step up and replace that production, whether it's one guy or by committee. That'll be something to definitely I'll definitely be looking out for, sort of to form my expectations for the season defensively.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting for content at least. Obviously, as a fan, you want some stability, but there's going to be some good narratives coming out. Last year it was all about new coach, new conference, so there was excitement building towards that. But I'm genuinely excited to see where these competitions are because it's all over the field. And obviously, next week we'll get to the offensive side of the ball, which things are a little bit more put together. Defense is just completely up in the air. I mean, it's new. We mentioned new coach, new scheme, new players everywhere. And let's look at the corner position a little bit too.
Okay.
Just because I think that was the other big thing where we went from having a lot of young talent at the cornerback position that was ready to go that either left with Fick or wasn't coming back after last year. During due to injuries or other things like that. Completely up in the air. Like I said, Young's job is not safe at all. He was sort of the one that kind of really seemed like to grasp what was going on. But there's going to be some other guys coming in who want that position. And again, we also mentioned that they tried other guys out. So who knows who's coming in from safety or maybe a smaller linebacker, to corner.
I mean, you got like 3 cornerbacks, like 3 listed cornerbacks as transfer in. But you got 4 or 5 more safeties or star position guys that you could easily swap out those positions. So I mean that room right now is loaded with competition, and that's what camp is made for, I guess, to see who can take over the spot. I mean, Young. I mean, he had 34 tackles, an interception, and 7 pass breakups. Doesn't sound terrible. I don't know exactly. I don't have like the how many times he got flamed down the field or anything like that. I don't think he was the main one that was getting toasted. I think it was some other guys that are no longer on the roster. But I think he has, even though it's a new defensive coordinator, he has the experience of playing in the Big 12 going for him, right? He can say, I mean, there's not another guy on this list of, I mean, you got some ACC guy, you got an ACC guy, you got a guy from Kentucky, Stokes from Ohio State. So I mean, you still got some power sort of experience on there, but right now Young is the only guy that can say he's lined up across from a couple of these guys before.
Yeah, I mean, let me put it this way: Jordan Young is the only one of 2 guys with a photo in ESPN in the cornerback room. And he's the only one with a Bearcats photo in that room. Armani Arnold from Idaho is the other. Now you actually go back for the DBs. It kind of goes from there. But I mean, looking at everybody else, I mean, Antoine Peak Jr. and DJ Taylor and Ken Williams are the only other guys throughout that whole defensive back room that have Bearcat photos. This year. I mean, that just tells you. And then I think Ken Corral, sorry. I mean, that speaks to rotation too, because I mean, he was a freshman last year getting some play at that point. We had, I mean, because by the end of the year, we had freshmen starting at cornerback and defensive back, because you were rotating guys in from corner to safety. I mean, it is just ridiculous. And his goal was also to get faster on the back end as a coach. So a lot of this, I mean, you have all these transfers coming in safety and cornerback positions, a little bit faster, a little bit longer. Like I said, you can't coach size necessarily. That just has to come with time and success to get those dudes.
Going out and getting speed, though, that was important.
It fixes a lot of issues. I mean, or at least covers for a lot of issues. You might get blown off the ball or get out muscled, but maybe that gives you a chance to at least recover on the guy and you know what I'm saying, and at least make a tackle downfield versus he beat you off the ball, bullied you, and then you out muscled. So
in 21 and 22, if you remember all the graphics they put out, the PR team, like clocking dudes running down the field, you know, they're getting like 22, 23, 24 miles an hour, and it was just blazing. And then last year, I swear I didn't see one of those posts.
It was like
where did this go? Everyone
did
loved
one
that.
or two, and then it was
they didn't do it because no one was clocking those times. Duh. So I've already seen them talk about some of the miles per hour that they've clocked or they've reached. So it's good to have faster dudes back on the team.
That should tell you right there. The team's not putting it out. I mean, and certainly, I mean, also you get just mean comments like, "Well, you guys running times instead of practice," stuff like that. So just smarmy guys on the internet. But still, you don't want to see it. But I mean, some of these guys some of these are just JUCO transfers too, actually. But I mean, you're looking at Logan Wilson hopefully to contribute. We've talked about Mekhi Williams. Maybe Antoine Peak Jr. can find his way into somewhere on that. I'm sure he will. Joshua Minkins. I mean, Jordan Robinson. Derek Canteen, as mentioned, as we talked about at length earlier. There's like DJ Taylor and Ken Williams have experience. DJ Taylor got some play last year at safety. Ken Williams also got some play at safety last year as a freshman. So I mean, it's all the experience that we have are guys that he went out and got at this point. As far as like older guys on the roster, that's going to be interesting to see. I say I was excited, but like the more I kind of think about it, I'm more anxious about it instead.
I get that. I get that.
That's just a lot of bodies. You can come out with any combination of those dudes, and it's we'll have some good laughs about it at least. I mean, is there anything you're expecting out of that room? Anything that you think is like guaranteed? Like,
that's guaranteed is a strong word,
right?
But no, not really. I want to see. I mean, just being faster is going to be great. I think it's going to be hard to be worse than we were last year on that front. And also, I was kind of sitting here thinking while you were talking, Darin, that how good are the quarterbacks that we will see in this week? The Big 12 is sort of stacked at that position. I think that's something that the media has already talked about throughout the summer. Now I know we don't have Utah. We do have Kansas State. We do have Colorado. We do have UCF. We do have Texas Tech. All these guys have some dudes behind center there. So this position is going to be vital, so we don't get just absolutely railroaded off the field early and often. So unknowns, yes, but expectations have to be high to be able to settle in and not just get flamed.
Yeah. I mean, even in our non-conference schedule, I mean, Miami is returning a 7 year.
He's been the quarterback for 10 years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he's experienced. That. So it's not like I think people obviously look at that and they're like, "Oh, we've gotten better. We're gonna cakewalk these dudes," But they still got a dangerously experienced quarterback, coming back this year, plus an experienced kicker. So I mean, there's just, guy, I'm pretty sure he was a Lou Garza Award winner. That's getting too much into the schedule there. But that's an early test at quarterback. For us. Pittsburgh, I forgot who they recruited. But
their quarterback's got to be better than last year.
Yeah, it's got to be better than last year. So I mean, we don't have an easy slate in that regard. Texas Tech, UCF, Colorado, West Virginia, Iowa State, Kansas State. I mean, they're going to have some experienced dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a slog.
I mean, out of all of our games, 7 of them, the quarterback is lethal.
Yeah,
so,
at least
tested early and often.
Yeah, lethal at least to last year's team. We'll see how lethal this year's team, but
hopefully not. Hopefully that's the difference this year for sure.
That takes bearing in mind there. So yeah, I mean that's gonna be the you hope to be with a 3-5. You hope to be better against the pass because I mean that's kind of why we switched to that. It's, to be actually we switched that because the Navy just tore us the fuck up. But in general, you hope to be better in the pass against a lot of those quarterbacks. And its inherent weakness is the run.
Wasn't the first play from scrimmage against Miami? Wasn't it like a 80-yard touchdown?
I looked over to my friend
down the left sideline from where I was sitting.
I looked over to my friend. That was like payback too. I feel like for 2021, almost. But I looked over to my friend. I'm like, that's exactly what could not have happened, and it did.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I didn't say it to anybody. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, they better not let this guy go deep. First play of the game because they will try it, and it will set the tone. And sure enough,
it's exactly what the fuck they did.
Yep. And I was like, hate to be right.
That was brutal. That was brutal for sure.
That seemed like payback. So,
do you have anything else on positions before I ask you to pick some more predictions here in terms of stat leaders for the season?
No, nothing. Kind of all over the place, which is fine because this defense is all over the place for now.
Yeah. So I mean, this is going to make this hard, and kind of what makes it fun because we don't know a whole lot about what the defense personnel exactly will look like. We know the names, but we don't know how often they'll be on the field or not. Although we do think they'll be on the field a lot because we need depth. I got 5 categories here for you for stat leaders. I'm going to ask you to predict at the end of the season. First off, here, who will lead the Bearcats in sacks?
I'm manifesting this more for him than for me, Dante Quillion. Just manifesting it. I obviously have no doctor. I don't know what his progress looks like, and there's always a chance he could not play. But I am manifesting it more purely alpha vibes than just facts. This is feelings over facts right here. I want this for him. I want this for us. So
I want that a lot too. I want his numbers to pop back up here after he gets back on the field. I just don't know if can he do that and not come in until like week 3 or 4?
Yeah,
that's or maybe he comes in week 3 or 4 just absolutely crushes it again. I don't know, but just for that hesitation, I'm going to go with Eric Phillips. He only had I think 2 sacks last year, but looking for some stat growth there, and I think he'll be on the field enough to at least try to get it. So I'll go Eric Phillips. How about just tackles in general?
Yeah, and Eric Phillips was my factual opinion on that at least. So it's probably gonna be Dingle. I mean, he just was a monster last
Dingle.
year. He's feeling good, looking big. It could be gold A if he turns out to really accelerate on that hype, but I think
I like Dingle here too. I don't know where he ranks like for his production from last year is where like first, second. I know he wasn't first. I'm pretty sure Pace was first. But he had 53 tackles. So that's we'll see if he can maybe double that this year. I like Dingle for the most tackles. How about tackles for loss?
Hey, what's up, Darin and Brandon? Forget about it. Just put that in there for.
I like it. A lot of faith in the Wisconsin transfer. I'm
hoping he takes a rage. our fickle rage and pour it on.
Yes. Like, look what we took from you. This guy is over here doing damage. Sucks to be you. I'm gonna, because I got to include him here somewhere. I'm gonna go Dante with this. He had like 6.5 last year, so I think even I just think there's probably more opportunities definitely for the tackle for a loss than bringing the quarterback down. So I got to throw my boy in there. So that's where I'm gonna go with. We just got done talking about this group here that'll be doing the next two categories, the final two. Most interceptions.
I guess that begs the question: do you think a lot of our interceptions are going to come from just, wreaking havoc in the backfield, versus, he throws it to the edge and the corner just makes a better play?
That's a good question. Like you're talking about like making a good play versus like getting to the quarterback and
he just chucks it up and like it's just people in the field at that point. Yeah,
man. I mean, just from going off of last year, and I know you can't really do that. I would say it would have to be the corner or safety just going up and making a better play.
Okay.
We got faster, we got longer, we got more experience. And we got two of our defensive linemen down already, or questionable, at least with Dante. I think they're going to have to make a play.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good point. I mean, was there? Armani Arnold. I mean, he got a lot of hype too last year when he was playing with Townsend. Where are his numbers?
With Idaho.
Yeah. He had 2 INTs last year.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to get a
or year 4.
3 or 4 might lead the team.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jordan Young had 1 last year.
So,
just to put it in perspective for Bearcats.
I mean, yeah, even looking at Derek Canteen, I mean, he really didn't have a lot of interceptions. I mean, during COVID is kind of where he flourished on that. When he was with Georgia Southern. So
Byron Threats and Ken Willis each had 2 last year to lead the team.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Let's go for the Vandal.
All right. I like it. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put some faith in my boy here. The next Ivan Pace. I'm gonna go Mekhi Miller. See what he can't do with the safety or star position or whatever. So we'll see if I can't just will that into existence.
Okay.
Last one, good sir. Last one I got here for you. Pass breakups.
I think that goes for Armani as well. Just he's gonna get his paws on the ball. He'll be feeling good.
I like it. I'm gonna go Jordan Young on this. I think he was tied for team leader there last year. I think there's several of them. So I'm gonna go Jordan Young. So we have our 5 guesses as to who will wreak havoc the most, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is to do this again next week with offense.
Mm-hmm.
Although I won't be here. We'll just say that now. I won't. So that way we have another special guest here for you filling in and talk about offense, which is exciting because you'll have a week of camp down and maybe be able to have better educated guesses is what I'm trying to say there. Yeah.
I mean, we can always revisit these superlatives right before the season starts. And
we should definitely
tune them up. So
yeah, we'll revisit that. I didn't write. Wait, who did you say for past breakups? I didn't write that.
You left it because Omani was there twice. So
oh, yeah, I can.
I'm saying it's gonna drive you crazy later. In the moment, you're like, "Yeah, this makes sense."
Yeah. So yeah, we'll revisit this. See if we might need to fine tune this, or maybe just make a round 2 of it and see if we're going to change anything. I like it. I don't have anything else, Darin. We introduced the people to the new players, shared our thoughts, and we got some superlatives in there as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, if I I won't see you next week. So until I see you again, I'm sure we'll be talking in the meantime. But until I see you again, good sir, cheers and go Bearcats.
Cheers. Go Bearcats.